Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Richmond. My name is Suzanne Short, and I am honored to be serving this community on its board of directors. Welcome to those of you that are here and those who are tuning in from near and far. We are grateful to be able to connect with you. If you are a visitor here today, we are so glad that you found us. We welcome you and thank you for spending time with us. We are a community committed to being deliberately diverse, fully inclusive, and want you to know that whoever you are, you belong here. Our church was begun in 1833 as a liberal Christian community. We are now a community of many faith journeys and beliefs guided not by a creed, but by a covenant to uphold shared principles and values marked by love, respect, and justice. Our faith community continues to work together to put our UU principles and values into action and to bring beloved community and serve the purpose of justice for all here in the Richmond community. We welcome you to live these principles with us as you continue your spiritual journey and to stand together with us on the side of love. If you are a visitor here today or new to Unitarian Universalism and would like to learn more about our church, our faith, and our community, we invite you to check out our website, join our Facebook group, and reach out to us at membership@richmonduu.org. We hope you will join us at our virtual coffee hour following this morning's service through a separate Zoom link available in this morning's email and on our Facebook site. To stay informed about important news and activities occurring within our church community, I encourage church members and visitors to arrive or tune in to our Sunday morning services 5 to 10 minutes early so that you can catch the rolling announcements, and remember to check out the various editions of First News Weekly. Just a few announcements. The annual meeting will be June 5th as both a hybrid and in-person event. A formal announcement will be sent out later this week in First News Weekly. On a joyful note, we invite you to rise as you are able or remain seated if that is preferred and raise your voice in song with us this morning. Although muffled through your mask, we will make some beautiful music together. Again, welcome to this joyful Sunday made sacred by all of us being together, worshiping, and sharing our time with each other.
Good morning, friends. I am Reverend Sherman Logan. It is my honor and privilege to serve in this wonderful congregation as your acting senior minister, and I'm so glad to see you all this morning. What a wonderful day, a beautiful day. I'd like to welcome all of you who are here with us this morning and those who are listening or watching virtually to our worship service. And we hope that you enjoy the service this morning. I'd like to make a brief announcement. Lauren Leatwood internship will conclude on May 29th. She started with us in February 2021 as our very first virtual intern. And during that time, she faithfully served our congregation through some of the most challenging times that this congregation has faced, through the pandemic and through the death of our beloved Reverend Jean. And she did it with class, dignity, and grace. And she's been pretty busy over the past year and a half. She was our summer minister for 6 weeks, July of August of 2021. She, with Leanne Luskin, created the Family Learning Multi-Generational, which is a mouthful, FLAME program, helped create a collaborative worship service and adult spiritual enrichment services, such as Vespers and Embodied Spiritual Practice. And with Margaret Rush, she co-created a generosity campaign with creative events such as Get Some Pie, Give Some Pie. I hope y'all got some pie. And last week, our wonderful generosity. And this past December, she was granted preliminary fellowship from our Ministerial Fellowship Committee of the UUA. friends, we have been extremely blessed to have such a talented, creative, and gifted intern to serve with us, and the future of our association will be in good hands. Lauren's last day as an intern would be May 29th, but I have some great news. Beginning on July the 1st, she will return to us to serve as our assistant minister. Okay, Ms. Lauren, the floor is yours.
I don't have anything prepared to say, and I know we have flower communion today, and we want to get to it, but I just want to say thank you. It really has been so lovely to get to know everyone here, and it started on Zoom, but it's going to continue in person, and I'm looking forward to continuing to get to know you all better and to serve First UU for another year.
Okay, please rise and greet your neighbors. Okay, friends, let's return to our seats. But I'm going to ask you to stand up again as we sing our opening hymn, Whoa, Ya Ya. And you can sing. Could you, Barre? Could you put the lyrics on the screen, please? Today we celebrate Flower Communion Sunday. It is an annual ritual that is perhaps the most widely celebrated ritual in Unitarian Universalist congregations. Every spring, most of our churches and fellowship devote a Sunday to this festive participatory service which celebrate beauty, human uniqueness, diversity, and community. Later in the service, I would invite everyone who is willing to bring a flower to an altar and place it in a shared vase. And you would take one home with you different from the one that you brought. So as we prepare to enter worship, we celebrate this beauty of the earth, which is our home, manifest to us, especially at the season of loveliness of flowers. We also celebrate our coming together to make a community of worshipers, each of us bringing ourselves, symbolizing in the flower that we're placed with each other as we enter this, our chosen sanctuary. Come, let us worship together.
Our chalice lighting today is called Within the Heart of the Flower by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty. Within the heart of community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the spirit of life. Holy, holy, holy.
So now is our time for all ages. I'm going to sit over here. Well, oh, that's very different. Wow. Okay. All right, let's start that over a little bit. Yeah? Is this bad?
It's too close to the other microphone. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, good point. Let's turn this one off.
And then that might be
Hello? Hello?
All of them have to be on, or else none of them work.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah! Jump over the flag.
Yay, yay, okay. And I need to make sure that this is at a level where you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, let's start that over. We're gonna rewind, fast forward. So this is a story about Rose and Rose's garden, okay? You already heard me say that Rose likes to do what? Travel. And Rose traveled all over in a what? A giant teapot. And what did Rose fill her teapot with?
Seeds.
And when did Rose stop?
When it was all full.
When it was full. And then Rose came to a place kind of like Richmond and decided to get off and look for a place to plant her seeds. And she didn't find a grassy place or a green place. She found this abandoned city lot to plant her seeds. But, I'll let Mommy do it. But when she went back to her teapot, she discovered birds had eaten most of the seeds. So she only had a few left. Can I give you this one? Can I give you this one and you this one? And will you please plant those seeds right there in the lot? Plant them in the ground, right down here. Here, Simon. So Rose persisted.
Yeah, they need sun. They need sun.
Yeah, okay, they need sun. Rose persisted. Help me put my teapot here. And put her teapot right there and planted her very few seeds. And she waited. And what did she do to grow the seeds? She watered them. She let them get enough sunshine, just like Simon's helping us with. And she waited. She inspired the community, and the community saw that she was planting the seeds. And so a child, can I get somebody from the back?
Me.
But from the back?
Me.
Who hasn't gone yet?
I'm in the back.
You'll get another chance. Came and brought her this very interesting thing, a paper flower. Will you plant the paper flower? Rose decided to plant that paper flower in her garden while she waited for her very few seeds to grow. And then other people found out about it. Can everyone participate? Let's have everyone help. So everyone lined up. All of the children came from all around, and they all brought flowers.
I got.
Okay. And once you get a flower, will you plant it in the parking lot? Ooh, and it started getting more and more and more colorful. Wow. The color was growing and growing and growing. I wish you all could see. We'll show the congregation in a minute how beautiful it began to look with all of these paper flowers. Paper flowers were everywhere. That's great, and you can sit back down now. So let's show everyone. Look, it became so beautiful. Until one day, Rose kept hanging out because she had planted those seeds there, and other people started hanging out too, until one day something happened that sounded like this. Bzzz. And it landed on something like this.
There's a flower. There's a flower.
Oh, the bee landed on something like this, and it was a real flower. After all of that patience and endurance, one of the seeds had grown, just like our flowers here today. And then more flowers grew, and more flowers grew, and from their faith and from their persistence and from their community support, they actually grew a real garden, and all of the flowers, paper and real, were appreciated and loved. That's our story. So thank you for helping me to build this garden, and I'm going to invite those of you who've practiced a song. Who's practiced to sing? If you've practiced to sing, you may go and walk over for your song now. And if not, you can go sit back with your families.
My beer! That is not yours. Yes. Hey, Simon, give that back.
As we prepare our hearts and spirits for this time of meditation, I invite you to sit straight in your seat, both feet planted on the ground. Close your eyes if you're willing. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Let us now enter into a time of silent meditation. Spirit of life, love, and compassion, God of many mysteries beyond our naming, we welcome the presence of the holy in this place as we are together today for a time of prayer. Guide us now as we are linked heart to heart in the stillness and calmness of this moment. We come before you this morning to give thanks. We give thanks for caring friends and compassionate neighbors. We give thanks for the communion of those who seek to serve others. Now, each of us carries our private griefs and burdens. Sometimes we can share these, and for the open hearts which responds, we are grateful. Sometimes the world bears heavier upon us, especially in these troubled times that we live. We struggle alone, search the depths, long for healing, for renewed hope, for strength which give their grace and peace. So may we strengthen in efforts to be of service, and may we always be mindful of our lives are filled with privilege, success, and joy that are excluded to many. May our prayer be that we always see clearly and keep before us the commitment to care, and may we try always to be inclusive and open, not exclusive and narrow. So on this day and every day, may we give thanks, but let us also be dissatisfied with the world as it is, for a new world is waiting to be realized. May our spirits and bodies be nourished and nurtured as we give thanks and praise for all that sustains, heals, and holds us, all that is holy. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
Good morning. My name is Louise Werner, and I serve a couple of roles in this congregation. First of all, I am a member of the Share the Plate committee, but I also serve as the liaison to the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy. My last email from Reverend Jean was asking me to bring up that the VICPP become a Share the Plate recipient. Well, for me that was a thrill because I've personally been involved with VICPP for over 10 years. VICP is actually the oldest faith-based advocacy in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Its mission is quite simple. Learn about issues challenging all in the community, pray for guidance, and act to make a most just, compassionate Commonwealth. With a staff of 8, including its executive director, Kim Bobo, and volunteers such as myself, the group looks at all the needs of the Commonwealth, and through its relationships with the state legislature, it comes together to develop very specific legislation and goals. Now, to make this all happen is one of the major things. It requires advocacy. And perhaps to me, the fun thing is when we all come together in January for the Days of All People. Now, simply stated, we all know that legislature is like making sausage. But this organization is more than coming up with, and I might say very specific legislation. You can go on their line and you'll see Senate Bill such and such. But it also now is working with congregations to make the congregations aware of some very important issues. For example, the concept of solitary confinement. One of the things I learned quite a bit was the concept of living wage and also the concept of wage theft. Now, just to get things straight, we all know that a living wage in Northern Virginia and Richmond is different from a living wage in Southwest Virginia. And yet, what the ICPP has proposed is that members start knocking on the doors of local businesses and getting them to commit to provide for a living wage for all people. Now, as always, I'm asking you to please donate generously to this great organization because, like many of us, I love making good trouble. Thank you.
For the flowers have the gift of language, by Richard Gilbert. Speak, flowers, speak. Why do you say nothing? The flowers have the gift of language. In the meadow, they speak of freedom, creating patterns wild and free as no gardener could match. In the forest, they nestle, snug carpets under the roof of leaf and branch, making a rug of such softness. At end tip of branches, they cling briefly before bursting into fruit sweet to taste. Flowers, can you not speak joy to our sadness and hope to our fear? Can you not say how it is with you that you color the darkest corner? The flowers have the gift of language. At the occasion of birth, they are buds before bursting. At the ceremony of love, they unite two lovers in beauty. At the occasion of death, they remind us how lovely life is. Oh, would that you had voice, silent messengers of hope. Would that you could tell us how you feel, arrayed in such beauty. The flowers have the gift of language. In the dark depths of a death camp, they speak the light of life. In the face of cruelty, they speak courage. In the experience of ugliness, they bespeak the persistence of beauty. Speak, messengers, speak, for we would hear your message. Speak, messengers, speak, for we need to hear what you would say. For the flowers have the gift of language. They transport the human voice on winds of beauty. They lift the melody of song to our ears. They paint through the eye and hand of the artist. Their fragrance binds us to sweet-smelling earth. May the blessing of the flowers be upon you. May their beauty beckon to you each morning, and their loveliness lure you each day, and their tenderness caress you each night. May their delicate petals make you gentle, and their eyes make you aware. May their stems make you sturdy, and their reaching make you care.
As one of my spiritual practices, my wife Franca and I would occasionally take a stroll through the many bucolic neighborhoods of Sandston. During our leisurely, and Franca might say brisk, hour-long walks, we'd see tiny wildflowers, a few blades of grass, seeds growing through and breaking their way through the asphalt roads, or concrete or sidewalks and streets. And we even don't have to venture too far from our yards where there are blades of grass, wildflowers, and weeds breaking through our patio pavers and our driveway. Sometimes during our walks, I would stop in wonderment, looking at the majestic signs of nature, looking at the little signs of hope, signs of life, signs of courage and determination, especially when I spotted a wildflower making it to places where I would never think that anything could grow. I ponder how flowers insist on blooming even in the most challenging environments. I am awed when I notice these strong signs of hope and determination contradict the laws of nature and common sense, and see how these small yet significant signs of power and hope grows into the wilderness of concrete and asphalt. You know, these wildflowers grow in the most unlikely and barren places and become the finest sermons of hope and life. And when I reflect on how flower grows in the most unlikely and barren places, how can we see the signs of hope that can break through the most difficult circumstance? How can we see the signs of hope and faith during the darkest hours, times of deep despair? I am reminded of a poem, The Rose That Grew from Concrete, written by the influential poet, actor, rapper, prophet, social activist, the late Tupac Shakur. In this poem, Tupac writes, "Did you hear about the rose that grew from the crack in the concrete, proving nature's laws wrong? It learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems that by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one else even cared. We wouldn't ask why. A rose that grew from concrete for having damaged petals. In turn, we'll all celebrate its tenacity. We'll all love its reach the sun. Well, we are the roses. This is the concrete, and these are my damaged petals. Don't ask me why. Thank God and ask me how." Friends, the poem represents the ways that someone can become someone great, something great, coming from a place that is not recognized as significant. In this poem, Tupac uses a rose, something that's recognized as beautiful even with its imperfection. Roses symbolize beauty and love, but it's also taken with caution because of their thorns. The rose correlate with peoples, how beautiful people are, and how we can be loved even in our imperfections. Being that rose that grew from concrete, something hard that has no nourishment, man-made cement, not really being appreciated, a thing that people walk all over and don't really care to appreciate that it is there. So in the poem, the concrete represents the ghetto or any place that looked at as a place that has nothing good to come out of it. Tupac came from a place that meant nothing to society, a place that no one really cared about, a place that seems just to recreate a mess and not really giving love and nourishment to the people that come from it. But you know, Tupac is the rose coming from a place when a rose needs nourishment and care to grow. And he, as a person who needs the same thing, was able to come from such a horrible place and actually make a good life out of it. Now, I don't know if there's anyone in this room who was judged by your place of birth or the neighborhood you grew up in, or places that were deemed by many in our society to be worthless. You probably weren't told that you wouldn't amount to anything. However, for many of our siblings from marginalized community, their inherent worth and dignity is based on their zip code where they live. They are deemed worthless because they live in the ghetto or the housing projects of Richmond. They are told by some that nothing good can ever come out of the projects. Their self-worth, self-esteem, their lot of life were determined by a phrase coined by the former President George W. Bush, the soft bigotry of low expectation. However, my friends, when the places that these folks come from have given them nothing in life but hard upbringing, the fact that they can still prosper and be beautiful, even with their so-called imperfections, and some of the lucky ones were able to come from such hard places and still grow as people and not become the product of their environment. Even in Tupac's life, people always doubted him and put him off as just a thug with nothing really to offer the world. So they called him a thug because of where he came from, and the media felt that he could not be a role model for kids. But Tupac tells us, proving nature laws wrong, it learned to walk without having feet. This just validates the fact that even though society has guidelines and expectations of what greatness looks like, where it comes from, you can always prove it wrong by simply learning to get through the hard times and getting past the hardships of where you come. So you can become anything they say you wouldn't. Now, for centuries, there are many systems, obstacles, hindrances, opportunities, inequalities, and unjust laws that have prevented many people in this land from becoming anything they wanted to be. But just as Tupac reminded them, just never quit trying. You know, I have some friends who grew up in a society that had written them off, called thugs because of the color of their skin, discounted because of the neighborhood where they grew up in, dismissed because of their public schools they attended. But you know what? They never quit trying. They didn't let where they came from define who they were or what they would become. They went on to become what a society would call productive citizens. Some are now attorneys, doctors, business executives, ministers, and teachers. And I also have friends who were written off by society to grow up to become skilled craftsmen, carpenters, plumbers, mechanics. Fortunately, my friends, they proved a lot of people wrong. And despite being written off by some, they didn't quit trying. They didn't give up. Now, I'm not lifting Tupac up as a saint. And just like all of us, Tupac wasn't perfect. He too has his flaws. However, he reminds us through his poem that he wanted people not to look at the flaws that he had, but the fact that he's beautiful and perfect in his own ways. Because he defeats the expectation of society, because he was able to become something unique and was able to grow into a successful, loving, and inspirational black man coming from the ghetto, a place that had no support and love and was hard to grow up in, a place that many can't seem to break out. He was able to make a great life out of a hard life. He was simply following his dream. So he wants everyone to appreciate that instead of the fact that he has flaws, but find the beauty in him as he rose. Now, I don't know about you, but I am a flawed individual. But I'm grateful that despite my flaws, just as Tupac mentioned in his poem, you can also find beauty in me like a rose. We all, in my opinion, are flawed individuals, but there is an inherent beauty in all of us. Each time we reach out to help our fellow human beings, the beauty is shown when we take the time to help our siblings in need. When we value the inherent worth and dignity of all people, regardless of their race, ethnicity, professional education, or the zip code they live, there's beauty. So, in my opinion, Tupac was correct with his prophetic yet provoking words of his poem, "We are all roses that grew from concrete." Now, scientists would tell us that a rose coming out of the crack of concrete is not possible according to the laws of nature, as plants need air, soil, soft land to come out. The concrete floor walls doesn't allow any vegetation possible. Now, I'm not a scientist, and I didn't play one on TV. But I have seen a single flower peeking out from beneath a dumpster, blooming in an abandoned lot, or busting through a concrete crack. It is the nature of flowers to bloom no matter what, even through the cracks in concrete. My colleague, the Reverend Galen Gutenrich, reminds us that we should celebrate the rose bursting through the crack in concrete, especially given how much concrete there is in the world. The concrete of sexism, racism, bigotry, greed, inequality, and so on. And Reverend Galen also tells us that these hard-hearted forces conspire to suffocate the possibility and keep other people down. Our women, our BIPOC siblings, our LGBTQ friends, poor people, and the list go on and on. But friends, isn't it good to know that miraculously, some flowers insist on blooming anyway? Sometimes they find a way to bloom independently, and sometimes they need help. As a people of faith, we should take the time to notice in the sidewalk cracks and the beauty and the damaged petals and broken spirits. And it's also incumbent to us to find flowers among other things, to see flowers blooming in unlikely places, in dumpsters, abandoned lots, inner city projects, the underserved areas of our cities. And when we see the flowers growing in unexpected places, we should celebrate them and recognize the beauty of creation that they represent. And as Unitarian Universalists, we are called to bust up the concrete whenever we find it, so that more flowers can bloom. So we need to do whatever we can to help the flowers of humanity bloom where it can, even when it grows from concrete. May this be so. Amen.
So we are moving into our flower communion ritual time. I'm first going to just introduce a little background about how this ritual began. The Unitarian Universalist flower communion service, which we're about to celebrate, originated in 1923 by Dr. Norbert Čapek, founder of the modern Unitarian movement in Czechoslovakia. On the last Sunday before the summer recess of the Unitarian Church in Prague, all the children and adults participated in this colorful ritual, which gives concrete expression to the humanity-affirming principles of our liberal faith. When the Nazis took control of Prague in 1940, they found Dr. Čapek's gospel of the inherent worth and beauty of every human person to be, as Nazi courts show, quote, too dangerous to the Reich for him to be allowed to live. Dr. Čapek was sent to Dachau, where he was killed the next year during a Nazi medical experiment. This gentle man suffered a cruel death, but his message of human hope and decency lives on through his flower communion, which is widely celebrated today. It is a noble and meaning-filled ritual which we are about to recreate. Whenever Dr. Čapek conducted his flower communion in Prague, he would say this proverb as he consecrated the flowers. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of others' talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. Lots of community work happening here today. Thank you for your patience. And for those of you on YouTube, just know that we want you to hear us so much. We're taking this extra time for you too. Check, check, check. Okay.
We promise we'll have this taken care of next week. So it's time to share in flower communion, and I ask that that each of you turn to approach communion vase. Do so quietly and reverently, with a sense of how important it is for each of us to address our world and one another with gentleness, justice, and love. I ask that you select a flower different from the one you brought that particularly appeals to you. And for those of you who are joining us virtually, I invite you to take your flower and place it in your vase. Come on, y'all. Work with it. As you take your chosen flower, noting its particular shape and beauty, please remember to handle it carefully. It is a gift that someone else has brought to you. It represents the person's unique humanity and therefore deserves your kindest touch. Let us share quietly in this Unitarian Universalist ritual of oneness and love. So starting from my right, section to my right, and from the rear, please come forward and come in front of the altar and bring a flower and take a flower. You can take one, too. Okay, in the center aisle, starting with the rear, come forward and walk towards the altar. Those to my left, please rise and walk in the back and form the line. These flowers, so lovely today, will fade tomorrow, but the love among us as siblings, family and friends, will go on and on. We know one another. We know what is in each other's hearts. We have brought our flowers today, and I love to brighten our church and gladden the heart.
And now we extinguish our chalice with these words. It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. O blow ye evil winds into my body's fire, my soul you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times,
friends, got one that works. So friends, please rise in body or in spirit as I give the benediction. And now, as you leave this place or signing off virtually, love intentionally, extravagantly, and unconditionally. Our beloved siblings wait in the darkness for the light that is you. So go out into this broken world and shine your light. Find the beauty from the roses that are blooming from the unlikely places and speak the word of hope and love. Now go out knowing that you're blessed and that you are to be blessing to each and every one that you meet. Go now in peace.